boy, come up off that neck. Into the trends. See you, Lee, be the band.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. We are now in the third week of spring training. We've had some exhibition games. We've had some World Baseball Classic games. We're getting a little closer, a little bit more clarity as time goes on. But I don't know about you, but I am itching to get to opening day. How's it going right now?
It's warming up here in Detroit, that's for sure. It definitely feels like spring.
It does.
And it's getting hotter down in camp with some of these names that you're alluding to that are kind of maybe making a case for not just 40-man, but potentially one or two to maybe break camp with the team back to week one, game one. So, some stuff to go on there and some interesting tidbits from the WBC too. But, it's kind of just a little teaser since we're still a couple weeks from opening day overall for the entire league. So still a lot could happen here in the next 2.5 weeks as they start to narrow down their non-roster invitees and start to make some tough final decisions.
Yeah, and one thing is inevitable about spring training is there are going to be injuries, and sometimes that just creates a little easy clarity as to who is likely to make the team, and who's going to need a little bit more time. But as far as injuries are concerned, we do have some notable ones to speak on. Hyu Lee had an oblique strain, which unfortunately kept him out of the World Baseball Classic. He was supposed to be representing China. Chinese Taipei, but that oblique strain that he suffered, I'm not sure exactly when he suffered it. Couldn't have been too long ago, but yeah. So he is being held out of the World Baseball Classic, and we'll just have to wait and see when he'll be back. But the big news was Josue Briseño. The first reports were that he was going to that he wasn't going to be able to play against the Dominican team. When we, had a couple exhibition games in the Dominican Republic, but the final results were a wrist. He had wrist surgery on his throwing hand, which is his right hand. So he is likely to be out for the foreseeable future. So several months. He's a top prospect for the team, and I think he had an extremely outside shot at making the team, but he's going to be out probably at least until June, July, maybe. With a pretty significant wrist injury. Outside of that, Jake Miller has a hip injury. He was actually optioned to minor league camp. Bo Brisky is day-to-day with a rib cage injury, and Troy Melton, who we already kind of knew about, has been limited to has been with an elbow injury, has been limited to strictly plyometrics. He's not doing any bullpens or anything like that. So yeah. A couple young guys, mostly young guys. There's really no vets that are injured right now, unless you consider Brisky to be a vet because he's been around for a little bit. But outside of that, we got a couple guys that were also, optioned to, AAA and to minor league camp. And those guys consist of Drew Summers, Jake Miller, who we just kind of talked about. The big one is Kiter Montero, who had, been showing some things. His velocity has been increased as of lately. I have a little theory as to why, why he was sent down. But we'll also get to that. Briseño was also optioned down to the minor league camp. Ben Malgeri and Matt Seelinger are all sent down to the, minor league camp. Yeah, so that's what we have going on as far as the roster is concerned. Anything else that you can think of that I might have missed?
No, that's pretty much it. We're still seeing some guys that are still left right now playing multiple positions, rotating almost every other game. So I think the staff's trying to figure out what might be the best combination or potential, Uber platooning, I guess. But no, in terms of guys that are left, that's pretty much it so far, with Kiter being the only semi unsuspecting one, at least maybe this early. But yeah,
Right.
That's who they got still going forward.
All right. So the next topic that we're going to touch on is the World Baseball Classic. Before we get into the games and all of it, and just about the highlights and what we've seen, we might as well give our weekly Tarek Skubal news. He pitched yesterday. Was it yesterday against Great Britain? What's the latest news and drama and all that? Well, actually, I do want to
start the game.
Well, for one, Jack Flaherty is 100% going to bat for him. He's been warring on Twitter a little bit. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out, but he's pretty much going to bat for anybody that has any ill words about whether or not Tarek Skubal should have took the bump at all, which I like to see. Everybody. I like to see that from the aspect of Jack Flaherty. He's definitely assumed his role as vet and the guy that's willing to just jump on the bombs for Detroit Tigers teammates. But what's the latest that's being talked about as far as Tarek Skubal, and what did you see in the game from him?
Yeah, so it was it seemed to be a common theme so far in most of these pool play games so far. First few days against teams that have maybe superior talent on paper. First pitch, I think he definitely would back grooved about a middle 97-mile fastball that got teed off. So first pitch home run, not off to a good start, but really settled it after. Went 3 innings, but the surprising thing was he didn't even come close to his 55 pitch count. In fact, he was well under 40. And that was surprising considering they were losing. They were getting no hit until the 5th inning. So they were losing the entire time Skubal was in. Shocker. Newsflash. Skubal doesn't get run support.
No matter where,
no matter where. International, just, yep. So he's done after 3, which, we hate to bring up what we think was a dead horse in Seattle last year. Now that rears its ugly head again that, he's mailing it in after 32 or 33 pitches. I think he had 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, gave up the 1 leadoff home run as the only hit. So it would lead you to believe that he probably could have gone the next inning 15 pitches, gotten to maybe 50 overall, who would have had 18 with that allotment, 2 batters for sure. And then all of a sudden after he makes a comment, he's being interviewed, you can see his brain starting to work. He loves this atmosphere with Team USA. The hype with the other international teams brings that, let's be fair. Team USA, this is not like the creme de la creme. It's a cool experience, but for the rest of the countries that are involved, this is the pinnacle for most of them. This is what they live for every 3 years. So that whole environment kind of started soaking into him as a competitor that he is. And then he made the unsuspecting comment of, well, I've experienced all this. I love it. It's incredible. It's intoxicating. It's addicting, basically. And I want to try and work out maybe a deal here where I can stay and pitch 1 more time for Team USA. And then the counter statement in quotes from AJ was, I fully being all capitalized. So the emphasis on the phone, I guess, was the conversation he had with some of the reporters. I fully expect Tariq to be back at camp. So now we're in a little bit of an awkward situation here of, is he going to stay? He's going to miss time in Detroit. I mean, not to open up a whole other can of worms, which I'm sure we could spend almost an entire episode just diving in on the awkwardness that has transpired between the front office and Skubal's camp over the last 2 years. Maybe is it speculation that he's kind of maybe sticking it to Detroit a little bit like, I'm on my way out. I don't really care what you think. I'm going to do what I need to do and what I want to do. And I'm under contract for $32 million. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's kind of like, what's he going to do next? Yeah.
Do you think he's kind of backpedaling from the backlash that he's receiving right now? As you can see, people are still.
I saw that. Yeah. It's like at that point, like whatever, he's already pitched and he pitched pretty well. I mean, but considering he went 30-some pitches in 3 innings, well under his limit, it's like, okay, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. Then the comments just amplify it to another level.
Do you think he do you think he went short this time to open up the possibility of playing pitching in another game?
That doesn't make much sense, honestly. I mean, as he stated clearly to everyone, it's a lot to get going early. He reported a few weeks earlier voluntarily so he could be ready to give, a better than average effort, because it takes them time, as we discussed in the last episode, for all these pitchers. That's why they report so early ahead of the regular position players. They have to ramp up their arm, their stamina, their power. They got to get all that, so that way by the time, I think he said roughly by their 5th or 6th start in the major league season, so you're well into April, damn near beginning of May, that's when they start to not be sore anymore, and they can go every 5 days and they're moving and grooving. So that doesn't make sense for him to shut it down 23 pitches under his cap just to stay and be available again. Well, then if that's the case by that math, then what's he going to be available for? 1 batter, 2 batters?
Right.
If you're going to hold him at 55 or less the second time, it doesn't make much sense. And to me, it seemed like it'd be a greater risk of potential injury unless he had just gone out and given what he said he was willing to go to and just be done with that.
Yeah. So weird situation. There's also reports as far you alluded to the $32 million that he's set to receive this upcoming year, but there are reports now that no official offer has been put out there. Do you think Scott Harris is kind of playing his hand with this? It's all but certain that we're going to a lockout. So do we have any leverage in that? Do we have any leverage as far as negotiating is concerned, knowing that going into the 27 season that he won't have, there may not be a season and we wouldn't be on the hook for any more money? Is there any leverage power in that sense?
I don't think it's leverage. I think Harris is just playing the long game. He's not going to commit to a big contract if they don't know what the potential floor and or ceiling cap perhaps for the new collective bargaining agreement once it gets signed. But the overwhelming sensation is that I'm not going to say there's going to not be a season at all, but there's a very high probability that the season would be truncated in some way, shape, or form. So, but unfortunately, I think a lot of that comes down to the lawyers and the jargon they got to write up for all of it. It takes time, shocker, billing hours. So it very well, I would imagine if it goes into like May or June and it's not done, I would expect that whole year to be a wash, because no way you're gonna have them. Well, they're not gonna report, first of all. If there's no deal in place, there's no reporting. So you got to have 6 to 8 weeks for these guys to get ready. Let's say you get it done in June. Now you're talking after the July 4th holiday. Well, that's 2 more months before September. So there's really not enough time to squeeze in a season at that point. So, and if there's no agreement in place, no one gets paid. No money coming in, no money going out. So there's no risk in that regard. But I think he wants to be in a position of like closing market value. He wants to be able to get the number he wants with the parameters he knows he has to work with, versus a new CBA, which you just have no idea what's going to come out of it until it's signed.
All right. So we're going to get to our first break, and then we're going to continue the World Baseball Classic talk on the other end of that. All right. So me personally, I haven't had an opportunity to follow to a T every single last game in the World Baseball Classic, but I have, seen, some little highlights here and there, and I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'm gonna let you go first. What has jumped out at you the most about the play so far? Like any particular players or any stories or anything?
Yeah, I'm talking like some highlight reel plays. Will Smith yesterday was robbed by Great Britain's right fielder. What probably would have gone over. It just barely gone over. Robbed him of a home run. Beautiful web gem. Manny Machado 2 days ago made back-to-back sparkling plays at third base that had you feeling like he was an Oriole again at 23 years old with that range and arm that he had. It was unbelievable. It looked like a replay. Like they were almost carbon copy. Just fair inside the bag, but pulled off the line once it cleared. He's 5 feet into foul territory, damn near in the grass. Makes a beautiful play, a throw both times. Aaron Judge continuing to just lay nukes at the tiny Houston ballpark.
Broke the wall.
Yeah,
Smack,
I mean,
smack
just,
one of the little, yeah.
We need to test his DNA. That guy's not human. He just isn't. He stands next to Schwarber and Harper. Those guys are fairly, decently built in their own right. Schwarber's obviously lost some weight in the last few years, but they're no slouches themselves in terms of power. And Judge makes them look like, junior toys out of a kid's meal from McDonald's or something. But, it's always fun to see the Latin countries go at it with their young guys that end up maybe getting on the radar a little bit for the Major League Scouts, which is also a nice thing for the WBC. It's kind of a centralized place, locations for these scouts to go see some guys that maybe they hadn't noticed before. So it's a dual factor benefit for everyone. But local kid, state champion out of Northville, Dante Nori for Team Italy, making his World Baseball Classic debut yesterday in the 9-hole with a team that, unless you knew him coming out of Michigan, which I think he was Mr. Baseball, first round pick by the Phillies in 24, 27th overall, hit 2 home runs back-to-back in his last at-bats for Team Italy in their effort. And that's, with Jack Cagliano, who was a much highly touted prospect last year, nationally too, with his power. So that'll be interesting to see. He'll garner some attention from that going forward. But Venezuela for the Tigers, who kind of, it's like a dual thing for us right now. We mentioned it last week, Scooble was excited to see him pitch. Manuel de Jesus pitched a gem for Venezuela in his first debut with them. And with what he's done in spring training already, there's kind of some noise that not only could he make the 40-man, but there's a chance he could actually break camp with the team heading north. So given the inconsistencies with some of the lefties, Drew Summers was basically demoted. Frankly, he can be DFA'd. He was terrible last year too. And we got him one of those, 9 or 10 free agent signing trade deadlines from Harris. Because Tyler Holton has been very good this spring. So you still need another lefty pretty much. So that's going to be interesting going forward with some of the other guys that have been making noise, including some of the non-roster invitees for the Tigers.
Yeah. So just to round out the Emmanuel De Jesus, he went 5 innings, had 2 hits and 1 earned run and 8 strikeouts with 0 walks. He's yet to allow a run in spring training play as well. I think that he's going to provide some extra insurance. I mean, I don't know. I think he's listed as a starting pitcher, but I think that he will be able to provide some extra insurance with guys like Reese Olson. Well, Reese Olson's already out, and Melton could be out for a little bit. I think he's going to provide some added depth for the team. As far as the 40-man, I don't know with Olson being placed on the 60-day IL. We got a couple guys on the IL right now, so he may actually have an open slot available right now. But I think he's done everything that he can to place his bid. And similar to what you said, the most outside of the Latin countries and seeing the emotion and how serious they take it, the Japanese team as well, is the amount of young minor league pitchers that get the opportunity to represent for their country. Manny Ramirez's son has a couple home runs. Alexi Ramirez, he's representing Brazil. Which is not a place that you see a lot of representation in the major leagues, but that kind of put him on the map. Jose Contreras, his son, Joseph, he's 17 years old. He was able to get Aaron Judge, get his team out of the jam, and got Aaron Judge to ground into a double play. 17 years old. He's in high school. I think he's going to college. And he's already throwing 100 miles an hour. So that's pretty insane. Also, Harry Ford, who I think is representing Great Britain, has hit a couple home runs as well. He was traded to the Nationals from Seattle for a relief pitcher. So it's opportunity on a pretty big stage for some of these young guys to, get their face out there. I'll see what Troy or Tim has to say an hour later. Yeah, I said it for noon originally. He said, do you think when the USA team show up and play, they pee a little? Well, I mean,
a lot. They pee a lot. Let's be real.
The lineup is crazy, but it could possibly get real when they face up against the Dominican Republic. We the Detroit Tigers got to see a little bit of that up close and personal. The Tigers did tie with them in one game. Granted, they stretched out that lineup and used everybody. The Dominican did, but yeah, that team is incredibly stacked. Yeah. So yeah, we still got a lot of baseball left as far as that tournament is concerned, but yeah, it's just good to see some of these not as notable teams. Even like Team Canada's got a decent amount of major league prospects on it. Owen Casey, he was just traded from the Cubs to the Marlins. He's representing Canada. So yeah.
You got the ageless wonder Alexi Ramirez still playing at 43, 44 years old as well. A long time White Sox.
Right, yeah. And so I think there's two Alexi Ramirez, because I think that's Manny's son's name too, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe I'm getting the two mixed up. Let me see. Manny Ramirez.
I feel like any year now we're gonna see Miggy's kid come up there.
Yeah. Oh, his name is Lucas. Okay. Lucas Ramirez. But yeah, I mean, he's probably 14, 15 years old. He's a big boy.
I see he did some they played some like winter on Miggy's Instagram. They had some he posted a walk-off home run just like a week or two ago of his son, a game-winning walk-off home run, and I don't know if it was a perfect game, like winter league. Like they travel and they play at the MLB stadiums indoors. He had a mammoth shot to walk it off. And I tell you, you want to hear going to the ballpark and hearing a home run with a bunch of fans is one thing. You want to hear the true sound, exit velo. You go watch a game with barely anyone there, and that bat to ball will just echo forever. And that was such a loud sound.
Absolutely, nothing like it. That's what really gets you going when you hear that first crack of the bat, especially the wooden ones for the professionals. Mm-hmm. But we had the debut of Justin Verlander. Who had a decent outing. Did you get a chance to hear about it? We probably didn't get a chance to watch. I don't even think it was on TV, to be honest. No, I don't think it was. But what did you see? What did you see from that?
Yeah, it probably took him a little longer to get going. Warming up, considering how late we signed him, like literally on the eve. It seems like their new tradition. They sign all these guys on the eve of spring training. Like formal camp. So it's going to take a little time for Justin to kind of get hot, get stretched out and build up his stamina for this year. Struggled in the first inning, had one or two long at-bats, double-digit pitch count at-bats, gave up a run. Not really many strikeouts, had a walk as well. Yeah, I guess it's a weird thing now in spring training. It's maybe the second year they're doing it, if not the first. Essentially, you can in the spring training, you can take a pitcher out. Let's say if he starts inning 1 and you put someone else inning 2, you can put that starter back in later in the game if you want to split up some of the looks, which is kind of interesting. But, that's what ended up, I guess, kind of happening. He went back out. But yeah, he labored. A couple of those at bats really jettisoned his pitch count to, 50 plus in only two and plus innings, essentially. So, not nothing to raise any red flags over. He's got to work through some things like any of these other pitchers that had time to get ready and start to get going and get a feel for it. So, he'll probably get 2 more, I would assume, just considering maybe 3 at most. So we may not know really what he's like until a couple outings into the major league season. So nothing really to get all concerned about at this time.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was one of those situations where they pulled him and brought him back for the next inning. But quite a bit of laboring for a two inning outing, 50 pitches. I know they had a couple really long at bats where they fouled off a bunch of pitches. I think his velocity was between 93 and 95. But yeah, 4 Ks, couple of walks. That 2 home run by Christian Campbell. So, he is going to be at the bottom of the rotation. And it's looking like our starting pitching staff is going to be pretty deep. So maybe they'll find some opportunities to give him an outing off in place of somebody else like a Melton or a De Jesus or a Drew Anderson, who has probably had one of the better outside of De Jesus, has probably had one of the better camps as far as pitchers are concerned. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get it. We can actually watch the second JV outing, but yeah, nothing too troubling that I can see for that. Let's see what else we got going on. Oh, well, yeah. So the Tigers did play a couple exhibition games against Panama and the Dominican Republic. The Panama game, I think we won 2-1. So I think Flaherty and Montero, were those the 2 pitchers? I think it was Flaherty and Montero. But obviously, as a collective, we only gave up one inning. Only 1 run. Let me see if I can pull this up. Where's Tigers?
I thought they just played 2 against the Dominican.
Yeah, 2 against the Dominican, which was in the Dominican Republic, but I think they played Panama in Florida. So they didn't actually try.
Oh, they swapped with the rest of the split squad that was back home. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Flaherty went 3 innings, 0 runs, 3 strikeouts. I can't remember who the other pitcher was. I want to say it was either Montero. Yeah, it was. Oh, well, Montero got the save. That's what it was. And that was the last outing before he got sent down to AAA. As far as offensively, Kerry Carpenter had his first home run of the spring, and Jace Young had an RBI single. That's a guy that is had a very good spring as well. Now, as far as the Dominican game, the first one was pretty exciting early on because it was the McGonigal show. The very first pitch that he saw. Yeah, we only had 4 runs, and I think he had 3 RBIs. He went 3 for 3 with 3 with 3 RBIs. But yeah, the first pitch that he saw against Jose Severino, he sent 450 feet. And then the next at bat, he either had the single or the RBI single, or it was a double. I think he was a triple away from the cycle in that game. But I think that he's pretty much put his bid in as much as that he possibly could to be an opening day starter. There's still a chance that they, manipulate the service time so that they can keep him under control for 1 more year, which I'm not opposed to. What are your thoughts about McGonigal? It's pretty obvious he's ready and is going to be called up, if not probably after that 2 weeks of 2 weeks of the beginning of the season. But what are your thoughts about sending him down to manipulate the service time?
I mean, based on everything else we've seen out of Harris, that fits his MO to a T. I mean, take advantage of all the years that he can, keep as much control as possible to keep costs down. That's essentially his, long goal. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either way if AJ really behind closed doors is like, if you don't let me break camp with him, we're gonna have problems. Like, you did nothing for me getting any bats in the offseason.
That's true.
This kid is potentially ready now. That will say, I didn't realize how small McGonigal is. He's 5'9". He's like a slightly taller Dustin Pedroia, essentially playing shortstop. So my only concern is that, he seems fairly built for his size, which is again still stocky, but
he packs a punch for sure.
5'9" guys generally aren't going to get you 30 and 110 or whatever, or 25 and 100, what you could project him based on his minor league numbers last year, what he's done in spring training, albeit still he's seen probably mostly minor league guys or back end prospects that are maybe right around his level at AA, maybe some guys at AAA, but Severino, he jumped all over. He just assumed, all right, he might not think I'm going to get a swing at all. It's a guy who pitched for the Yankees. Now he got a big deal for the Athletics. He's a good pitcher. So he jumped all over that fastball. And boy, did he deposit it like an Aaron Judge home run. That thing was like 105 plus exit velo over the scoreboard. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. And I'm not going to be mad about it. And if it comes down to a losing streak to start the first 3 weeks of them not making the playoffs, that's a whole other conversation. But at the same time, Hinch he only do with what he's got in front of him, and Harris has not really put much of anything in front of him except for Gleyber Torres in the last 2 years. So I would imagine that Hinch is going to no pun intended here, or probably intended, go to bat for him to keep him on the 26 man. And now you've got another situation, because now you're talking possibly cutting someone else with some of these other guys that are also making a bid to break camp with the team, or at worst make the 40 man. But there was going to be decisions they're going to have to make here by the end of March before they head north.
Yeah, I'm not mad either way. I mean, because we're really only talking about 14 days, I think, to keep that extra, to keep that extra year. So in the long run, you're gonna appreciate it. But if they do open camp with him like he kind of deserves, that'll just show you how ready he actually is the fact that they're willing to forfeit that extra year. So, but I think, like you said, it's going to cause a domino effect, because you're going to have to make room for him one way or another. And, but yeah, we'll see one way or another. It's going to, whether or not he makes the team is going to affect several people as far as who doesn't make camp. Like for me, I think that if McGonigal doesn't make it right out the gate, that's probably Parker Meadows' only chance of remaining on the starting route.
The 26
breaking with the 26. I think up to this point, I think he's even playing right now. I don't think he's had a hit in weeks. Let me pull up the
his second game or second at bat, he had a single and a stolen base, and he's not done anything since, really.
So as it stands,
there's he's not the only one. There's 4 guys hitting under 100 this spring. So unfortunately, whatever bug he's got is kind of tilting over to, I think you sent me the screenshot a couple days ago. Riley Green's batting under 100. Let's see here. Perez is batting under 100. So they've got multiple guys that are going through, the hitting yips right now. And they gotta get their hitting coach, and they gotta figure something out, because that was the one thing we noted, and I think a lot of us knew it last year in the playoffs. Just not enough offense, and too many guys struggling at the same time, not doing anything. So the McGonigal, I understand why the McGonigal thing, the hype about get him on, but now it's like, okay, but you've got 3 other guys that are struggling. He can't make up for all those spots. He only do so much.
Yeah, wouldn't be fair to him. So I got it shared up on here. Yeah, right now, Riley Green is hitting 083. Meadows is hitting 053. Now, Green, the tricky thing about spring training is we only, for the most part, get the benefit of checking box scores. So it doesn't always show everything. Green, I can genuinely say, how many strikeouts does he have? That's 0.
He's gotten walks too. You mentioned it last week. He had gotten a handful of walks early in the limited at bats that he had, but at the end of the day, too, your number 3 hitter, man, you want him driving that ball. That's where his value is, you know.
Definitely, and he has been making a good amount of contact, and I've seen him, hit a couple hard line drives right at people. Yet and still the end result is an out, but yeah, the struggles from Parker are a lot more glaring to me from what I can see. Riley's got some, he's got some accolades to kind of cover his, slow start. Whereas, Parker, not so much, in my opinion. What else? Oh, and an important date to pay attention to. Austin Slater, he has an opt-out. He has 3 opt-outs in his contract where we can force to either be promoted to the major leagues or ultimately be released. And that first date is March 21st. He's had a pretty good camp hitting wise. He had a ground rule double yesterday that played at 2 different guys, and he's a bat in the, kind of a perfect storm for him. You got some guys that are struggling in the outfield. I think he can play center field if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, he's doing everything that he can to, trigger him being promoted to the 40-man roster. So by the 21st, the Tigers will have 2 days to make a decision on him. And it could be unfortunate, if we have to end up releasing him, given he's kind of fulfilling a role. We didn't go out and get the big names, right? But we did go out and get a couple guys, Corey Jokes included, who are, corner outfielders that have displayed some power. Jokes has a grand slam so far, and Slater has a home run as well. So that's an interesting date to keep an eye on, with the bats struggling right now. Wenzel Perez, another guy hitting under 100 out of that corner outfield. How much, he may be, when it's time for McGonigal to come up, he may be a guy that's the first to get sent down in that regards. You can always throw McKinstry in the corner outfield position as well. So with the amount of options that he has, he's in kind of an easy decision to make. So,
and we haven't touched on Jung, who's continuing to impress with the bat. The defensive positions he's learning, probably still a work in progress. Not going to chastise him for any mistakes he may have made at any of the positions he's not used to. But I mean, all these guys, even Briseño to a degree, was making some noise with the bat as well. These guys that are not 26-man or not even 40-man, they're really making a push, which has made this spring interesting. But, we also we understand a lot of the spring training is in a vacuum. Your pinch hit at bats, you get maybe 2 at bats every 3 days. So getting rhythm and timing can be a little challenging, even though all these guys are getting on the field every day in some way, shape, or form, whether it's exhibition or, just field work or batting cages. But it's only would have been easier if, like, okay, the 8-9 guys are doing it for the most part, and some of these other guys that are struggling, you kind of maybe expect that. But it's kind of been flipped around. So, I mentioned last week, like, if there's anyone that's got to get cut to make room for 40-man, I mean, for me, it's Sweeney, hands down. First, it should be the first name that any position player, any of them, honestly, he goes bye-bye. And I'll say, Zach McKinstry continues to hold his own. He's not tearing it up, but he's still hitting around 250, 260 and playing, Mr. Superman utility defense everywhere. So, But the only detraction, obviously, with Parker that really amplifies him if he's got to be sent down, you unarguably lose your best range and defensive outfielder on the 26 man. So you lower your team's overall defensive ability. Again, Javi's made some nice plays, but he can't cover nearly as much ground. He's not as long, and he's got limited base stealing. So, but again, it's kind of undeniable at that point that Parker will be among the first chosen to be sent down, with probably Perez too in that same regard.
Yeah. So right now my locks for the 13-man roster are Vierling, Baez, Rogers. Rogers has been actually hitting very well this camp. I don't know what's happened, but actually all our catchers. Well, Dingler hasn't played.
Nito too.
Nito and Rogers for sure, and Dingler they've kind of brought back slow. But yeah, Vierling, Baez, Rogers, Torres, Carpenter, Green, Torkelson, Dingler, McKinstry, and Keith. Now that's 11. I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that 10? Okay, 10. So that's 10 right there. Jones, I think Jones, that bench, that righty specialist or lefty specialist, for lefty pitchers, bench hitter is kind of I think that's kind of up for grabs right now. He doesn't have any hits in spring training. He did have a home run against China, against a righty, on a changeup, which was good to see. And we've obviously thrown him into the fire with righties, not just lefties like he would be in a regular season game. But I don't think he's a lock right now. I think there's a couple of different righties that could contend with him right now. One being Eduardo Valencia, who's a righty bat that's got a home run. He's hit for some power, and he's continued to hit at the same level that he has at the double and triple A level. Also Slater, who I think that's the only. I think that's the role that he would be. That lefty specialist would be his role as well. Outside of that, Lee's hurt, so that kind of takes him out of the equation. Thayron Lorenzo, he's a switch hitter. He's also had a decent camp. He's had a couple of hits in those exhibition games, so it hasn't factored into his statistics. But he's already on the 40, so that gives him the leg up. Lorenzo and Valencia, they're both on the 40, so that gives them a leg up.
That's the same with Cruz. Cruz protected, right, from the Rule 5.
Yep. Cruz has also already on the 40-man roster. I was going to pull up the game. That's because Cruz is playing right now. Tigers.
Yeah, they're getting whoever they sent out there. Brian Sammons got shelled early. Shocker.
Oh yeah, it's 4-0. Wow. Let's look at the box scores right now. Colt's got a hit, Trey's got a hit, and Young's got another hit. He's gonna push his way on there. I don't know how he's gonna do it because he's a lefty, and we're kind of lefty happy as is. But
yeah. See, my thought with Jones is he would be the first one. I would say, you know what, it was wonderful having you, man, but you don't have any options, and everyone below you pretty much does. Vierling is looking like he is back to his 2023, 2024 days, providing a quality at bat and still a above average outfielder, can man center field. And it's like, look, you take your specialist, you put him in almost every day in center field if you want, or rotate with Javi. That allows a promotion for McGonigal. And then if you need to make an additional add to the 40, then Sweeney would be the other casualty of that as well. If a Slater or especially a Slater, I don't know anyone else that would make it from a non-pitching standpoint that isn't already at 40 man, because at that point you would just swap with an emotion at that point, like a Perez. But I think you would keep Perez at the bottom guy on the bench for a righty specialist, or right-handed off a lefty. Because, again, they don't really have very many right-handed bats. So you're swapping Parker for Vierling, so you get that other steady right-handed bat in the lineup. with Javi and rotating in. So, but again, it's also a little bit of a power thing too. So, which has a more amplified factor for that, almost need to bring him into the fold.
Yep. So yeah, as it stands right now, we're down 4-0 against the Blue Jays. Young is still pushing. I really sat down and did the, wrote it out to see how it can be situated, because his position is what, first, third, and second base. So he can pretty much play all over the infield outside of shortstop. And so, yeah, if you have Vierling, Green, Carpenter. Yeah, Vierling, Green, Carpenter.
Perez would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
but they got Cruz, but I don't know about Corn. He's playing left field today. He's played all over the place.
He can play anywhere, yeah.
Or outfield, yeah. That'd be interesting. That could be a guy that you could do a 1-for-1 swap with Perez, send him down to get more regular ABs in Toledo, and really fine tune things and see where it goes with Cruz. I don't think there's any harm in that, honestly. So,
but does that but that still wouldn't open a spot for Young, though, right? Because you need that fourth outfielder.
Jace Young, yeah, that would be the one thing it comes down to. Because if you're considering that, then Julks is probably not being considered.
No.
If Harris was smart, he's probably looking to just trade him then, because you don't have anywhere for him. And giving his spring, if you just let him go back to outright minor league, there's a pretty good chance that someone else is going to try and put in a waiver claim or try to snag him away from you at that point.
Yeah, which is kind of how I feel about Jones too, is that somebody might pick him up given off the strength of last year, but I don't know how much stake they would put into that. I guess if you really needed a lefty, if you really needed a lefty specialist, you might take a flyer on them. But I think Young's only shot at making it is if it's over McKinstry or Keith,
which is not, unfortunately, either of those is happening.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. It'd have
to be a trade. Someone would have to be traded for that to happen. You're not going to cut one of those two guys. Well, Colt, I think, is under team control still, but that would be weird sending a $6 million guy down for what? He's been your last 2 years, every month during the season, he's gotten
steady,
better and better and better as a hitter. So it'd be counterproductive. But he made some interesting comments. He goes, there was an article someone wrote about him, and he's like, I don't look like I'm having fun, but I promise you, me being hyper competitive and focused, I want to win at all costs. He goes, I don't care what it takes for me to have fun is my team winning. That's all I care about. So I do wear it on my sleeve a little bit. Yeah, I'm externally hard on myself. You can only imagine what it's like internally then, that kind of, roller coaster that he goes through. So again, he continues to be very open and honest about it. So and whatever he's doing each of the 2 years, it seems to be working. We're just looking for maybe a little better start to the year versus having to rely on that increased production month over month.
Yeah. Yeah, Colt. Yeah. All right. So we pretty much talked about all the different scenarios. It'll be interesting when we finally get to see how everything plays out, because I think we've literally tried every different scenario there is in order to figure out the best composition. The moral of the story is I think the AAA team is going to be pretty stacked, because you're going to have, Jace, you're probably going to have, more than likely it probably won't be Slater. Slater will probably opt out and try to just find a spot somewhere else. I don't know if Corey Julks has the same opt-out option, but more than likely you're going to have McGonigal down there for maybe parts of the year. Max Anderson, I don't see making the team out of camp. You're gonna have who else?
Max Clark will be down there too.
Yes, because he finished at Double A, right?
Yeah, all those guys finished at Double A last year. McGonigal, Anderson, they were. I think two of them were promoted together.
Anderson got promoted to Erie because he had been. I mean, to Triple A because he had been in Erie for at least a year or two.
Was that like late in the season, like after August? I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay, then Then I would imagine all three of them will definitely be at Toledo then, at like worst case, which is really the only case.
And then Eduardo Valencia will be. Shit, I mean, when Briseño,
that's tough. Nito, Valencia. I mean, well, I think the only thing that's going to save
Lorenzo too
is the injury to Briseño's wrist. Now he's out for a few months because he's
Briseño's out of the. It's going to be Nito and Lorenzo playing catcher down there.
Yeah, well, nice. Those are nice options to have. You know, if anything happens,
Trey Cruz is probably going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're gonna be loaded. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
I know it's funny. I alluded to that last week, but man, now that we're actually kind of getting a better idea here, the next week over week, definitely gonna be a lot of fun down there at Fifth Third Ballpark or whatever they end up deciding it to change to after they merge with Comerica Bank, because Comerica Park name is eventually going to change. I think after the end of the season at some point in time.
Yeah. So let's take a quick break and then we're going to wrap things up. All right. So as we wrap things up, what players do you have your eye on as we get closer and closer to opening day? We only got a couple of weeks until we break.
Yeah, I mean, I continue to say it. I mean, because it's the biggest elephant in the room. It's Parker Meadows, and he's probably starting to run out of opportunities. At some point, he could be a part of the next wave of guys that gets sent down. I'd say continue, because I think they're at 55. So obviously that's a big number to get down to 40 still too. And then obviously you got to get down to your main 26. But if they want to give longer looks to Cruz and Slater, some of those guys, I could totally see that, and just send him to minor league camp and just let him kind of just clear his mind, level set his expectations, not for the whole year, but like, okay, this is what I got to work on. Let's handle that one thing at a time, and then see what happens to the rest of the guys. But I'm still intrigued to see what happens with if they hold on to him near the end, like Max Anderson. Not a guy we've largely been talking about quietly. He's been doing all right. And I would say not been able to really see Glaber. So defensively, I don't have any opinion on how he's looked defensively because of his hernia surgery. That's basically a core muscle. So your ability to move laterally, charge the ball, field and throw are all things. But obviously, his biggest impact of that was his hitting, which was already going through a little bit of a downfall last year, but amplified even more in the playoffs when he was really suffering through it at the end. And obviously Dingler. Sorry, we still have to see Dingler throw. I don't think they have him scheduled yet, at least through this weekend, to get behind the dish, but that's also minor compared to everyone else.
Yeah, we haven't seen Dingler in the field yet. For me, it's I guess we kind of really talked about some of these guys. Obviously, Drew Anderson is having a very good camp. I think that he has set himself up in a pretty good situation. In my opinion, I think that, as I said earlier, I think that right-handed bat lefty specialist, I think that is up for grabs between like Jones, Valencia, Slater could be in the mix of that. Corey Jokes could be in the mix of that. Maybe even Theron Lorenzo. So I'm looking to see which one of those guys, because we need, especially, I'd like to believe that guys like Carpenter, Torque, Green, they'll wake up and be, you're not going to see Riley Green in AAA. You're just not going to see Torque in AAA. Those guys have, solidified spots no matter what. I also want to emphasize that home run that Kerry Carpenter got, which was off of a left-handed pitcher. So that is, pretty encouraging in itself. But yeah, anybody that can show, especially from the right-handed side, that can show that they can hit, should definitely be taken a look at, just to round out the rest of the hitting lineup, because I don't think pitching is, the biggest concern right now.
I would say from the pitching standpoint, just because the guys they've lost already for the year. Obviously, Joe, we weren't expecting really back for this year, but Olsen was a surprise. Obviously, we don't know about Melton. Like that, I think that's kind of a key piece here in the next couple of weeks to figure out. Now, if he gets on the IR for 14 days, okay, that's manageable. Obviously, that's what it tells us, is like it's something short term that they're just gonna get him back to health on. But if it's something he's got to go in the 60-day IL for, dude, all of a sudden that depth we were looking at that would have been like, hell, our bullpen's great. We may not even need him. We can go 6 day, every 6 day with guys. Like we were that deep. And then it all of a sudden gets to the point where Drew Anderson, or the other guy we were just talking about, who probably was going to start in Toledo, now looking like he'll be the next, kite or long inning guy. And after that, that's where it really drops off in terms of pitching help, because all the prospects you've drafted the last few years, they're already up. There's really no one of noteworthy quality that are going to be able to step in and have some trackable promise to eat some innings. So health in the starting pitching for me, but bullpen I think is looking fantastic.
Yeah, which was an area of concern. And Will Vest could get an opportunity to pitch in the World Baseball Classic as well. So that'll be cool for him. So yeah, we'll see if some of these bats wake up that haven't got going as of yet. But Jace Young doing everything that he needs to do. We definitely were looking forward to him having this was an important camp for him, because he was kind of on our mental, trading block with all the other guys, pushing into third base. So we will see how that goes. But subscribe to the channel. We're here every Sunday with a show reviewing the week that was. Subscribe to Bleacher to Speakers as well as Corner to Copa, and stay tuned. We hit you guys with a couple shorts throughout the week, especially if it's some breaking news or something important. So that's one reason to stay subscribed beyond the weekly show. Other than that, we out of here.
Get your lick back. If a nigga gonna do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat.